and we're here for Whale Club Hangout number 30. We have a very familiar guest in Zane Tackett from VFX. Today we'll be covering the addition of Ether to their platform, as well as some other UI and UX updates that are pretty exciting. So Zane, thanks for coming on.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me again. It's always good to get your guys' feedback. Always valuable.
And currently my co-hosts are Bitcoin Airlog and BTCVIX. So, we'll just go right in. We know there's been a lot of controversy surrounding the recent ad of Ether. So it was about 2 weeks ago that we had the leaked image on Bitfinex beta. So at the time, you guys came out and said that we were testing some things. We don't have any plans about Ether. Then we get, Ether ends up getting added last week Friday. So why don't you, for some people that are coming in and there's a lot of confusion, let's take us through the process of all the way back to that kind of leaked image back on beta, and what happened there, and what the process went on at Bitfinex that came to you guys adding it as of Friday.
All right, yeah, no problem. So that was on like February 24th, I think, that we had the leaked photo from beta right around there. And I was just coming off vacation probably about a week before then, and so I wasn't, the Ethereum market really surprised me because I wasn't paying too much attention when it happened. But I remember we had a call before that, before the image leaked, and we were talking about whether or not we want to add Ethereum, and we raised a lot of concerns and things that we'd have to look into before adding it. But then we were thinking about it, like, all right, well, we know that we're going to want to add more currency pairs in the future, whether it be Ethereum BTC or whether it's going to be Euro BTC or whatever, CNY BTC, it doesn't matter. We knew that eventually somewhere down the line we're going to add another currency pair. So we wanted to go back and make sure that one, we'd be able to handle it on the UI side of things, and then two, basically have everything ready to go when we reach that day for the trading engine, everything like that. So we started playing around a little bit and trying to see how we were going to do it. If you noticed in that picture, I think there was also Dash or Dartcoin or whatever you want to call it. So basically we were just messing around and testing a bunch of different pairs. And then people saw that and were like, oh, they're adding Ethereum. But at that time we still had decided that we weren't going to add it. And then a couple weeks later, we again decided to look into adding it, and this was after quite a bit of volume had picked up. We kind of expected when we had the conversation earlier on February that the volume was kind of spike up like it did. Yeah, that's the picture that I shared earlier, and I think it does a pretty good job of telling the story. But we thought that the volume was kind of going to spike up and then die away. But not only did that not happen, the volume actually steadily increased, and it wasn't just huge spikes. It was pretty sustained volume. And so when we had the conversation again last Wednesday, yeah, so about a week ago now, last Wednesday, we had kind of talked and decided that with that type of volume, there's obviously a very strong demand for it. It's been sustained volume over the past month or so, and that if people are going to trade it, we want them to trade it on Bitfinex, so we decided to go ahead and add it. And we had already spent the past 2 weeks kind of adding the ability for when we wanted to turn it on. So it was less of a technical issue and more of just a, do we want to do it or not?
Isn't there a technical issue with adding the wallet infrastructure?
Not really, because we had talked to Ethereum. We had been in conversations with them for a very long time over this, and so it's not like we were completely ignorant on what Ethereum was or how it works or anything like that. All of us very closely follow crypto in general. I spoke with Vitalik in Beijing in like 2014 in the spring. So it's not like it just came out of nowhere. We know what Ethereum is. We've been watching it. It's just we hadn't decided to add it until recently.
All right. So I think, we fast forward up to, um, was it Wednesday? Now, I think
Wednesday. Yeah, it was Wednesday.
a lot of the flack that I've seen you take on Reddit, and when I saw the one from 2 weeks ago, I kind of thought, okay, that was justified, but you get this pointed out where, at the time it was just like 3 or 4 days prior, and you're still making this kind of similar
Yeah.
statement here, and this is where the people
Yep.
kind of flew at you. Now this was before the meeting, correct?
Yeah.
Actually, the day of,
So
right?
we did our update. We did our update like late Tuesday night, and so I woke up and it was finished. So it was Wednesday morning. I posted the change log as soon as I woke up on Wednesday, and somebody asked about Ethereum. So I commented, no, we don't plan on adding it. And then every Wednesday night we have our planning call, or like our where we all get together and kind of have the larger discussions on what we want to do with the exchange. And so it was that Wednesday night that we had decided that we were going to add it. And as soon as Giancarlo was kind of like, yeah, we're going to add it, the first thing I told him was just, shit. Because I knew earlier in the day, I knew I had commented that, and I knew that, we had said that we weren't going to add it. And so as soon as he told me, I was like, oh, God, I'm definitely going to get flack for this. But, that we weren't going to add it, and it was later that night when we had the conversation and decided that we were going to go ahead and add it. So, I didn't write anything that wasn't true at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to kind of, bring some clarity to this too, because I think what people are a little bit upset about with this piece is they kind of feel like you're being extremely coy with what you're saying, even though in the background wallets were being added and such like that. But I think what needs to be taken in consideration, Bitfinex in the past had talked about always, Alpha Point is going to be live in 2 weeks, and 2 weeks went by, 4 weeks went by, and whatever. But I think as an organization, you were trying to be very careful with waiting till you were actually going to add it, and it was going to be live to say anything. And some people are like, well, why weren't you telling us that you guys were talking about it and all that stuff? But we all know in crypto how many times such and such exchange or company talks about, something's going to happen and it doesn't happen. And, tell me how you're trying to manage expectations and why, these people, I understand why they're getting upset, but I also think they have a little bit of misunderstanding that, what happens behind closed doors and is in trial stuff, and some of that doesn't happen. So, why aren't you revealing that?
Well, I understand. I understand where people are coming from when they're saying like, look, you so resolutely denounced this, or said that you weren't going to add it a few days ago. I understand, from the outside, it's like, yeah, you're playing with us, but the fact of the matter is, we had decided that we weren't going to add it on February 23rd, and the thing with a company like Bitfinex, one thing that I love is that we all have our own opinions. We don't agree on everything, but we're generally able to have good discussions and kind of figure out where each other lie. And so I'm not gonna lie, I was against adding Ethereum, and I talked to Giancarlo and Phil about it, and we all had our concerns, but the fact of the matter was that we saw that the demand was there. And so I 100% understand from a business side making the decision to add it. But when people are saying, you guys were going to add it the entire time, it's not how it worked. We had talked, we said that we weren't going to add it, and then we decided, okay, but if we do want to add any currency pairs, we should be ready for that. And we had just finished a dev cycle at that time, so we figured, that's something good to complete for future use. And then really Ethereum just the volumes kept increasing and kept increasing, and had very strong growth. And so when we had the discussion again, I was like, all right, the things change, and that's as simple as it was. It, it wasn't that we were like trying to keep things under wrap while we were working on it and only wanted to release it at a final stage. I mean, I found out that we were going live with it on Monday on Saturday morning. Actually, like I told you earlier this week, Vix, when I woke up in the morning, your text was one of the first I saw saying, you're like, oh, this will make our discussion on Tuesday more interesting. And then kind of put everything together and realized we were going to add, that we had announced that we were adding Ethereum. But yeah, it's not like we were trying to conceal anything. Like if we were trying to conceal things, we would have had way more stuff lined up. Like we would have been in touch with CryptoWatch to get charts on before we launched. We would have had TradingView getting charts on before we launched. But that's not how it worked out. We had to rush to get it launched on Monday because we only had like three working days notice: Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
I think people may also not be aware that, I mean, the Ethereum people were, like, before the launch of Ethereum, which is now quite a while ago, they were actually reaching out to all the exchanges. I know because I did a lot of introductions, to help exchanges work that wanted to list it, to work through the technicalities of, the wallet, because obviously it's completely different to the Bitcoin wallet. So, I mean, people shouldn't be surprised, in my opinion.
They were also reportedly overconfident and pushy about it, and Bitfinex also declined them.
Sure. I mean, the bigger exchanges are always more cautious about adding altcoins. But I mean, just in general, I think people shouldn't be surprised something of the scale of Ethereum to be added to major exchanges, or that major exchanges would be considering it, considering the scale of the crowd sale, the scale of their business operations, the scale of their business development that's going on. I mean, it really shouldn't be a surprise. It should be like an obvious, like, why wasn't this done before? Which is my opinion.
Well, it would be a surprise for a maximalist or such, PGP does talk a very Bitcoin-centric, ethos, and this is compromised in adding Ethereum. Because there's only so much volume in the market, right? And I think you could argue that Ethereum did bring new money to the market, sure, but we don't know for sure whether this volume is going to hold and how well it will do after this week even. Bitfinex, some people like to joke and say that Bitfinex is what killed Darkcoin. I don't think it's going to happen with Ethereum necessarily, but I do think that you are going to see that volume drop off, and you are going to see basically a diminishing of how much of this new volume is actually new and just people trading Ethereum instead of Bitcoin.
Well, we'll see. I mean, the interesting thing if I put my trader's hat on, then until now, in terms of crypto hedging, you've only really had Bitcoin and Litecoin. And Litecoin's only good in certain circumstances. So, if Ethereum comes and actually provides a decent amount of volume and market cap, then it could actually, provide a hedge for Bitcoin traders.
I don't know that we need to get into that in this conversation, but I don't know if I agree with you on all that.
Okay.
I don't think there's such thing as a coin that can be a hedge to another coin.
Go ahead, Zen.
There are a few things that I want to mention. One is to airlog, PGP being a Bitcoin maximalist. I absolutely am as well. And I think that the Bitcoin versus Ethereum, it's a wrong viewpoint. I think they can work in tandem together. Vitalik has himself said that Ethereum's primary use isn't to be a store of value, and to think of it as like gold, where Bitcoin draws a lot more references to being, or Ethereum being oil and Bitcoin being gold, and I think that's kind of an apt comparison.
I do hope you see the irony in that
comparison,
right? Using Vitalik saying it's not a store of value and that being a justification for an exchange listing it.
Yes. Oh, see, I understand the irony in that, and if you look at the CoinDesk article, I've pointed out the irony in how strong people have latched onto it being a store of value. But the fact of the matter is that the demand's there. And to your point about volume dropping off, I wouldn't be too surprised if, right now it looks like Ethereum's had a huge run up, and I think that the smaller market cap coins are a little bit more susceptible to major market moves, and so that we're seeing a little bit of a speculative bubble here. That wouldn't surprise me in the least. But I'd also say that there hasn't been another coin that's had as much promise and kind of just I guess promise
Volume
is
is all you have to
Ethereum.
say.
So I don't think that, no, because like Litecoin's had super high volume, but I don't think it brings to the table the abilities that Ethereum has with smart contracts and having decentralized apps built on it. And so I think even if it's going through a speculative bubble now, in no means if the price or volume goes down, does that mean Ethereum might drop off, like people say with Darkcoin, us adding him and delisting him killed it or whatever. I don't think us doing that with Ethereum would have nearly as strong effects, because I think Ethereum has a very strong base.
Yeah, clearly not. I mean, Kraken and Polo have the lion's share of the volume anyway. It'll be.
Well, it's been one day. Give it a little time.
Sure. Yeah, well, I mean, I know this isn't a speculate on Ethereum, but I mean, Ethereum is the hot topic. I would like to say I have a friend in Japan, a Bitcoin developer friend, and he gives a lot of presentations in this space, and he says banks and whatnot are absolutely, going potty for Ethereum and R3.
All right,
So,
I don't want to I don't want to go too far down that path, because I kind of want to recenter this a little bit back on the adding of Ethereum, because I got up that screenshot, and people are in crypto go very quickly to conspiracy theories that you guys were acquiring during that whole time, and you're waiting to sell into the pump and everything. But I think what the focus needs to be is that they need to understand, like, what would have happened if you just said, yeah, we're listing Ethereum, and then you don't, then for whatever reason you end up not listing it. So I think that's what people kind of miss, because they get so myopic and, well, of course you're going to add it. So there's a tremendous amount of politics and posturing that go on just to get to that level in an organization like Bitfinex. A top-tier Bitcoin exchange. There's a lot of back and forth that ultimately lead to adding or not adding a coin. And these conspiracy theories come out, and I tend to roll my eyes at them. But I think a lot of these people don't understand that you have to be careful with what you say, because you might not add it, and then it's just as bad as waiting, and then all of a sudden you're adding it, and you're saying, well, 2 weeks in Bitcoin time is like 2 years. So I think you tried to make that point out, where people were saying, well, how did this change so quickly? Well, I mean, the volume came in and it was there, and that was the driving factor. Some people were on the fence, and that's what drives decisions. And I look over at Poloniex and Kraken, and I've never met anybody that's traded Kraken BTC. They're great folk over there, but the only people that I've talked to that trade at Kraken seem to be ones that are using Ether. So I always thought at some point the larger players may want to go get some of that volume market share.
I think the failing of Bitfinex was, I mean, it was the second time round that they were fiddling with stuff, and leaking it to the public, by accident. So, and I mean, by accident can be, if you want to be a conspiracy theorist, it can be, in inverted commas. So when they were adding Darkcoin before, then it was, seen in something, someone would tweet it and then, screenshot it, and then, it would be turned off, hidden, and then you'd forgotten to hide it on the next part of the system. And I mean, the same thing happened with Ethereum. I mean, it was, someone said Ethereum was listed on the full order book, so that was screenshotted, and then you guys found out about it, and immediately it was removed. But then it was in the wallet page, so that was screenshotted. And I mean, you were kind of playing. I was playing whack-a-mole with you guys. I was actually trolling you about it because it was the second time round. And I think the lesson there is you really shouldn't be making those kind of ads on a publicly facing system at all. You should have an alpha.bitfinex.com if you really want.
Yeah, I agree.
That is firewalled and only employees can see.
I agree.
I like that there's a beta.
And by the way,
sorry. I like that there's a beta, and I like that we can access some of the features that maybe are not quite ready for official launch. But I do think that you should definitely have a separate system before things get pushed to beta.
Agreed. And it would solve all of this.
Beta is pretty much production. So yes, we most absolutely do have a pre-production stage for testing and everything like that. And yeah, that was absolutely a slip up on our part by letting the testing of currency pairs get back on there. So yeah,
I'm personally not too invested in any of the drama around all of this release, because in the end, how you handled it wouldn't have changed how everybody else would have behaved. In other words, if you had said from the beginning, yeah, you caught us, we are going to release it, the market would have done what it would have done once it found officially that you were releasing. And instead, that market did that at a different time when they did find out for sure. So it's like, the only, I think, argument here and only concern is that people caught you in a lie, quote unquote. So they are forced to go into conspiracy theory to fill a void of information. And so you're here to dispel that. We have no way of proving either way what happened. We can only take your word for it. So to me, the whole being mad at you guys about it is not really that interesting unless it's about the actual abstract concepts of whether it's smart to list Ether.
Yeah, I mean, I would like Bitfinex. I would like Bitfinex to take away from this whole incident. Like, please don't let there be a third time. When whatever random coin X comes, the next super coin comes along, and then we go through this rigmarole again. We should never ever testing stuff on.
I'm not sure what you were talking about before with Darkcoin. Was this happened when we added Darkcoin as well?
Yeah, it happened.
I wasn't here at that point.
Yeah, you weren't employed at the time. You were with OKCoin at the time, but yeah, they were testing adding the currency pair, and it again leaked in pretty much the same fashion. It was someone spotted it on the wallet page, and then that got whack-a-moled, and then it was still on the full order book page, and that got whack-a-moled, and so on and so forth. And I mean.
Okay, I didn't know that happened. Whoops.
It's kind of a symptom of I won't want to use the word bad programming, but there's clearly you should have. The system should be set up that when you make something visible or invisible, then it does it everywhere. It seems like people were, having to, I need to edit that template. Oh, and I need to go and edit that template. Oh, I forgot about that template. It seems a bit.
Yeah, I get the impression you're editing CSS in production. Is how that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry that you get that impression, because that's not quite how it went down. But I do understand where you guys.
Well, how did it go down?
That, when we're doing any testing, it should definitely be behind closed doors.
Do you want to take us?
Yeah, if you aren't editing CSS in production and you do have an alpha before you push to beta, how did it happen?
What probably happened is that we made the changes, and since nothing in production was being affected, we rolled it out and didn't really think, since we rolled it out to beta, just kind of forgot that beta was there and that people were using it. That'd be my guess.
No, but do you see the point? You see the point? Is that may very well be what happened, but then what happened is someone said, "Oh, look, Ether's on the wallet page, the deposits page," and so someone tweeted that out, at Bitfinex, and a few minutes later it disappeared, right? So I logged into Bitfinex and I thought, oh, that's interesting. I clicked around and I found it listed on another. It disappeared from the wallet page, but was now on the full order book page, So I tweeted that, 60 seconds later, literally, or maybe not 60 seconds, but maybe a couple of minutes later, that vanished, right? And it was, I think, 3 places, and I was tweeting, a joke as Bitfinex plays whack-a-mole. I'll keep finding, where they've got Ether listed. So someone was literally going into the system and saying, shit, it's listed on this page.
I think.
Oh, it's listed on that page.
I think what could I think a simpler answer would have just been that they saw that, oh shit, it's listed under, we have it active for trading on that. Okay, turn that off. That takes it away from the order book. But it's still there for deposits and withdrawals, right? Because we can enable deposits and withdrawals for a currency while trading isn't live. So then they, oh, all right, well, turn it off there as well. And so I think that's probably more likely what you were saying.
Okay.
Well, it was.
If I had to guess, like I said.
Yeah, there's an appearance of. I remember being at my computer and seeing Drac go through, and it comes out on beta.bitfinex, and people are posting screenshots, and it gets viral real fast. So then to see it taken down as Drac is posting, within less minutes within that happening is, I see why people start to draw conclusions and they go, conspiracy retard at points. So I think this whole process was not the best of what I would imagine a PR person would like to see it go down. Some of that maybe.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal.
Yeah.
It is what gives you a job, though.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah.
And I still.
But it was also just coming out of my birthday weekend when I just wrapped up a vacation, and so like that was just me getting thrown back into it. I wasn't terribly close to everything that was happening. I had been reading messages, but wasn't actively participating, and then all of a sudden things just kind of picked up speed real quick. I just remember going in our Slack and saying, "Can any please tell me that this didn't just happen? Like, one, please tell me we're not adding ETH right now, and two, please tell me that this picture didn't leak." And they're like, "No, we're just testing pairs." It's like, all right, that's better than what I thought, but still not ideal.
Yeah, I mean, I've said for a long time, and you were on our first Hangout ever, almost a year and a half ago, and you're best in the business as far as PR goes. And I know sometimes it's hard to get everybody on the same wavelength. So I just kind of hope going forward that between the principals and yourself, kind of try and unify that front so you're not under the gun. Because I don't like seeing that on Reddit, and I don't. I understand some of those people as far as why they were upset and such, but it gets harder to now try and undo the conspiracy theory when we started at leaked images, right?
Yeah, and like I said, this rollout definitely didn't go as smoothly as it ideally could have. But that's kind of what happens when you make when decisions get made and you want to act on them quickly. Going from the decision on Wednesday to announcement on Saturday and launching on Monday. Things, you don't get to line everything up exactly how you want to, and things didn't go smoothly. But as soon as we launched, trading went smoothly. The platform didn't have any issues. So I think the leading up to it was less than ideal, but once the product was out, everything went perfectly fine.
I've got a question about Ether on the platform. Why does it take I think it's 300 confirmations, which is like an hour and a half or something?
We're updating. Well, that's what the suggested confirmation or wait for confirmations is from Ether before the Homestead release. Now that it's after Homestead, I think we're taking it down to 100, I believe. I'm going to need to confirm that, but yes, I believe we'll be taking it down to 100 after, or with Homestead being out now.
Okay, how's the wallet being managed? Is it a BitGo thing, or?
No. The setup that we have with BitGo is pretty unique, so it can't just be ported over to anything. And so we use a different system for LTC and Ethereum. Like, we don't have a cold wallet anymore, or a hot wallet for that matter either with Bitcoin. And so we have a different setup for Ethereum and LTC.
All right, so we'll move on a little bit, but you got to ask the question, Does Bitfinex have any plans to add any other pairs in the near future?
When you say any other pairs, I mean, in terms of alts, there's nothing that I don't even think we would consider besides Ethereum. And then I think we put this in the announcement for Ethereum. We're actively pursuing a Euro pair, but there's nothing really concrete there. It's just something that we'd like to get done, and we're moving towards.
Got it. And now I understand that the margin on Ether is not open yet. Can you explain that a little bit?
No, I mean, look at how many conspiracies come out with just what's out there. So if we went and had Ether, and then somebody used any margin to kind of manipulate a very shallow order book, which we kind of have right upon launching, and the price went either direction, either way, I know that people would just lose their minds and say that it's market manipulation that was done by us. And I think that it's very important to have ample depth when you want to add margin. And so we want to make sure that the order books are at a point that we're comfortable to add leverage trading. We need to make sure that the depth's there before just adding leverage trading.
Do you have a volume threshold you're looking for, or depth?
No. We don't have a threshold. We're just kind of monitoring it and see how the depth stacks up. I was pretty pleased, to be honest, with how much the books filled up last night. But that's just my opinion. I know that Phil's monitoring it closely, and we'll speak with the other devs about where they think is a good enough point to go ahead and add leverage.
Let us know so we can short it into the ground.
Let us know on public Hangout when we can do this. Thank you. So we can have more conspiracy theories that involve all.
I'm sure.
That way we can get in the news again for wanting everything to.
And I'm sure the announcing. I promise there won't be a pop-up of something in beta next week where it's like leverage trading, and then we're going to say no, that we're not adding it, and then add it. I promise.
You're gonna regret saying that.
No, it's gonna be a leak of that you guys are releasing 100x leverage Ether trading. So that we could really pump out there. But
no, the communication channels are gonna be very clear, and everything's gonna be very laid out for how it's gonna work. So that'll go smoothly.
We'll go ahead and push on here. I know that was going to be a big part of what we were discussing today was Ether, so I kind of wanted to keep the second half a little bit clearer. But you did roll out some updates, so I just wanted to go over those because I think a lot of them have polished up a lot of things that we've been after for a while. So you guys went and did this thing where you can do basically one-click transfers of Bitcoin now. So just take us through the update a little bit. I know, we're hoping to have Theo on, who's actually used the mobile app, but just take us through some of these changes and what they improve on.
So a couple things here. I've been doing these hangouts with these guys on Google for like almost 2 years now, and ever since I joined Bitfinex, they've always asked for the transfers on the same page. But we have, an ever-growing laundry list of things that we need to do. So that was one that just kept kind of getting pushed down for a while, and then finally on the last cycle, one of the devs, Drew, just kind of hopped on it and did it. So Vix, I knew that's one that you've been suggesting for pretty much a year now. So nice to check that one off. And the app, again, you guys, we got a lot of strong feedback from you guys and Whale Club in general. And so the app's something that we've been wanting to do, and we brought in a very lovely lady to help us with it, and she's done an excellent job, I think. And we just released a new version with Ethereum trading yesterday. But I've been really pleased with the development of the app. We have some more things that we want to add in future versions, like margin funding. But I think for right now, it's pretty good for trading on the go. And going forward, I actually have a call later tonight to kind of go through this huge list of stuff that we have to take care of. But big ones that we're looking forward to in the near future that we want to start working on is margin funding. Vix, I know that you've been trying to get, or those Low Strife and Flibber have been trying to get data feeds from margin funding to put on TradingView for a long time. So we want to get margin funding over to WebSockets. That's something that we'd like to look at and add some new features to the margin funding section. And then new order types, stop limit is one that we'd really like to get done. But we're currently working on some pretty big trading engine improvements. And so I think once we wrap that up, we'll start looking more heavily at some order types.
All right. Yeah, I definitely will reiterate as far as that quick transfer, I thought was, yeah, it has been a long time coming, and it's just very, I mean, we all know that it used to take like 3 different page loads to finally get your wallet transferred over and to be trading. So to have this kind of dashboard here with a heads-up display where it just pops up, move over, and away you go, I think makes the whole thing much more seamless. I even know way back in the day, you know, kind of like after the 266 bubble, walking people through just how to move coins. You know, they'd say, I don't know, where'd my coins go? They're gone. And I'm like, oh, it's probably in one of these 3 wallets that they have that's part of your whole account. So have you guys gotten those over the years? That's pretty popular question I used to get.
I mean, we've gotten all range of questions. Like, I mean, our customer support guy, Bjorn, we've seen some tickets of some of the questions that he has to deal with, and to the point of you're not sure if people are trolling or not. Like, there's no way that people can have this little knowledge on how to use a basic website. So we've gotten all range of questions. Yeah.
Well,
I think some good ones.
I think that shows 2 things. First of all, maybe you're seeing an influx of Ethereum people now, so that customer service bin may be filling up with a lot of questions that are probably at that level. Not to say anything about those people in general, but from a trading standpoint, I found it was very difficult to speak with them. And it's good that you're starting to roll out you know, these changes, so hopefully the bin is a little less large than it otherwise would be.
Yeah, we've been trying to do a lot of things to make usability a lot better, and so you know, like same page transfers, and then we also have walkthroughs now, where basically any page where you want to figure out what that page does and how to use it, you just go to the little question mark in the top right, and there's walkthroughs, and you can use those, and it'll take you through how to use each section of the page and take you through what the different pages mean and what the different wallets are.
It's very impressive.
And so I think we made a lot of improvements. Well, cheers. I think we've spent a lot of time on that, and our UI guy Drew is, he's really good, and he's great to work with. He gets a lot of stuff done. I mean, if you look at the change log over the past little bit, you can see that we've been making a lot of changes to the site. And some stuff doesn't even make it in the change log. But yeah, we've just been kind of just trying to do the constant improvement. You know, every couple of weeks have a new change log with a bunch of new stuff, and just keep working towards the best trading platform out there.
Got it. I know Theo's coming in here late. We did touch upon mobile a little bit, but Theo, do you have anything to add as far as the mobile app goes?
I think that you did a good job. So, from what I can tell, you also allowed all the order types and everything. I haven't,
except
as far as I can see, there's no way. Okay, so there's still one. I don't see a way for me to deposit. What about a way for me to deposit via the app?
That's planned in one of our next updates, but I don't think you can do it right now. Let me check, because I know we made some updates to the app yesterday, but I don't think that was one of them.
Okay. Right, because I'm looking at it right now and I don't see that.
One thing, yeah, it doesn't look like we've added that yet, but that is something that we do plan to add.
Okay, great. There's also
one thing that I would go ahead.
okay. There's the order book looks really nice, but it would be good to just have some candlestick charts, maybe because there are a few good apps for charting on mobile, but not that many. And the notifications, there's only one for when my order is filled. That's pretty good. But I mean, you could make like a whole notification thing about just price levels and things like that.
Yeah.
Alert system.
So to address a couple of those, we're working on trying to get crypto watch charts into the app. Not sure how that's going to turn out, but we do want to get charting onto the app. And then for notifications, price levels are planned, and we'll try and kind of give the users some more options on the notifications. But yeah, we do have price alerts planned for future updates.
Yeah, I never asked for that before, but I would like to see price alerts in general for Bitfinex. You know, we've had some alternatives and they've never remained reliable.
We're working on that for the site as well, so we'll want to add it to mobile, do it at the same time.
Right. Another idea I had is a way to contact support via mobile app. I don't know if I've seen that before, but maybe that could be useful if the site is down but the app would work, or something like that, just as another way to communicate.
All right, yeah, we could look into that. Yeah, I guess the only thing would be, I mean, I guess I understand what you're talking about with the sites down. All right, I could see if we could plug that in, yeah. Just
well, I
go
was
straight
just
to
thinking,
help desk instead of going to the site.
right. Well, I was just thinking, let's say I'm on vacation and I want to do total trading experience from my hotel on mobile, then I might need to contact you, and I don't want to have to break out my desktop maybe. So then I would need to have some way to contact you via the app. Then it would be a complete system.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Zane, we want it hooked up to your personal cell phone, so we just have like a button to push, and it just calls you, right out of the app, just so we can wake you up when we're pissed at you and shit.
Calls in button.
Click for Zane.
Yeah, click for Zane. That's it. That's good. In there. Airlog, you got some stuff to kind of go over here?
If you have some time, I have a few questions that are kind of miscellaneous.
Hold on. Go ahead, Zane.
Just real quick, on the app, one thing that I would like to point out that I think is pretty nice about the way that we've done the app is that by using the API settings, or by using it through API instead of just doing it like an app where you sign in with your password and everything, it gave us quite a bit of granularity on permissions. So like, you can choose if it's a read-only app, or if you want to be able to cancel your orders but not place orders, you can decide if you want to place orders, but not be able to withdraw in future versions. If we want to add the ability to withdraw, you can take away that specific permission. And so by kind of setting that up, you have really granular permissions with what access or what permissions you want your app to have, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, I like granular permissions. I remember back when we had the Bitcoin stock market, BTCTC, I think was the name, the green one. They gave you a feature where you would have to put in your TUFA just to place an order, and various other granular features for security. Anyway, so one of my first questions is, I'm not sure if you saw the post I put on my blog, but basically, I made this post explaining how to read the BFX data website regarding the sentiment percentage.
Oh, yeah.
So in that post, I basically, I basically put in words, things that I've asked Bitfinex about in the past, just so I'd have a place to reference it and to point people who didn't understand or were misusing it. But the specific question I have about all that is, when will we get access to, the accurate swap data? As in, we need, in order to display that data properly, we need to know swaps being closed and opened. And if we are going to get that, will we also get historical data to help us address the kind of dissonance in our brains about the constant high level of longs in Bitfinex?
So one, yeah, I did see your post. I think it was a very well-written post, and that people should read that because it had a lot of good information in it, first off. Second of all, we do have plans to make updates to the margin funding, which will give you a better picture of of the market data, and we'll have dedicated streams for it. And we want to move it over to WebSockets. So yes, we do have plans to update that and kind of make it easier. Historical data, I'm not sure, but I'm sure if you talk to BFX Data, they could probably help you out.
Well, BFX Data does have historical for everything except for swaps closed. You understand what I mean by focusing on swaps closed? Because the sentiment includes
yes, yeah,
but it doesn't include closed.
Right.
So it gives noobs this false impression that the long sentiment is really high, even though in kind of a way it is, because they're right, because the swaps are being renewed, but they see it as new swaps being opened for new positions.
Yeah.
So I would say either have him stop displaying that data, or find a way to display something more accurate, or give him both current and historical data, access to the data of the swaps closed as well, so he can correct his books.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and yeah, I think when we do the margin funding updates, it's probably it's looking like it's going to be a pretty comprehensive update, and in there we'll be giving access to better market data. Yeah.
Do you have a rough ETA on when you plan to at least go alpha with that, or?
No, not really. We will have a call tomorrow, and like I said, we just finished a pretty big dev cycle from the last week when we posted that change log, and then this week was spent, last week was spent finishing up the technical details of adding another currencies pair, and then over the weekend, or at the end of the week, getting everything rushed. I would add Ethereum dollar Google statistics page, getting the tickers up and making sure everything was working. But now that we have both of those done, I think we have a little bit more time to see what we're going to do in the future, and I'm sure that'll be in a conversation. So I'll let you know.
Looking forward to it. Okay, I have 3 questions about BitGo. The first one is, just in general, I think a lot of users probably don't even understand that there's a relationship with BitGo unless they were around or paying attention when it first happened. If you could just generally describe what your relationship is with BitGo and how it is integrated with Bitfinex, and to what degree.
So we do our Bitcoin storage with BitGo. Basically, every single user has their own wallet, HD wallet with a bunch of different addresses, where they store their coins, and this basically adds a whole bunch of granular permissions for the wallets. Like, we can limit certain users to withdrawal limits. We can have global withdrawal limits. And this adds a lot of security to prevent malicious attacks, and then it also provides pretty much near real-time proof of reserves for our Bitcoin holdings. But to make things clear, we hold 2 of the private keys, 2 of the 3, and then BitGo holds 1. So we'll submit a withdrawal, BitGo will then approve it, and then it goes out. And that's the way it works.
So if I understand correctly, does this setup kind of help or hurt, I don't know the proper way to word it, basically affect people's ability to send Bitcoin into your exchange, trade, and then when they withdraw, have different Bitcoins from a different address. In other words, a slight amount of washing of coins. Whereas now with BitGo, they're going into one identity, and when they get withdrawn, they get deposited into that identity and withdrawn from that identity.
Well, I think there's a lot of variables here. If they just deposit and then withdraw versus if they actively trade, but pretty much it makes it much more transparent because it goes address to address, right? There's no longer a pooled fund where we have all these Bitcoin sitting there. When you deposit to your address, and then we can, basically we get to follow it's much.
When I withdraw, do those coins come from a pool and then get put into that same address that I deposited to?
No.
Well, but it's going to be a different amount of coins. If I profit 10 Bitcoins, where do those 10 Bitcoins come from, and how do they get relayed out of Bitfinex? So
well,
relayed in a way
all settled on the blockchain, right? So.
Right, but do you understand the question I'm trying to ask?
I'm not sure, yeah, so I'm not exactly sure the exact specifics. Like basically, if you're in a trade and the other person loses Bitcoin and you gain it, I don't know if it would go directly from his wallet into your wallet, and so you'd be withdrawing his exact coins the other side of your position.
A more direct example would be, say I transfer $100 to Bitfinex and I buy some Bitcoins and withdraw it. Where do those Bitcoins come from? New account.
Well, that's not actually my question. My question is whether or not an identity can be someone could identify me by watching my Bitfinex BitGo address. In other words, if I deposit 5 Bitcoins to my BitGo address, I trade, blah, 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 say I maybe profit 2 Bitcoins out of that, and now I want to withdraw 7. Does that 7 Bitcoin get tagged to me again? And when I withdraw it comes from the same connected
wallet.
Say that again, you got cut off.
So it'd be very hard for them to monitor. Sorry, the wallet's an HD wallet, so just because they know one of your addresses, let's say your deposit address, doesn't mean that they have all the addresses.
So it uses a different address for every transaction. Is that what you're saying?
You can actually go into your account and see all the addresses that we've ever used. But yeah, it's not just one address that is the address for your account, and then everything goes through that address. It's a wallet. It's an HD wallet.
Okay, so there are multiple people in one wallet.
Yeah, no. And if you actually want to check this out, or I'd say go to your Bitfinex account, and if you go to history and reports, there's something under on the bottom right hand side. It'll say BitGo addresses, and it'll basically show you every address that has been used for your account.
Errorlog, it's like effectively every account has its own seed, like an Electrum seed or whatever, and then all the addresses that you get are derived from that seed. So the wallet is only you. All the addresses are only you.
Okay. So while there is a slight amount of kind of dirtying, it's not really significant. Because if they had enough addresses from the same seed, they could start to identify those addresses as being from one seed, right?
Well, that isn't how you track. I mean, so getting off topic, that isn't how you track coins. It's not by addresses. It's by the outputs. That's how you. It's nothing to do with the addresses. Even if you have a multiple.
I'm talking about a different concept. I think you could. I've read about how you can actually, for lack of a more intelligent way to put it, triangulate multiple addresses as being from one source. This is going too far anyway. You answered the main question, which was whether or not it specifically tries to keep one identity for coins within BitGo, and it sounds like it doesn't make any special effort to do so. That was my real question, was whether or not you were trying to make sure any coins associated with a certain person were always associated with that person from the outside looking in.
Yeah,
I don't believe that's the way we do it, but like I said, since everything is settled to the blockchain, I think it'd be pretty there'd be a pretty clear path to follow.
Well, I want to kind of wrap this up here, but I think I understand Errorlog's concern. It mainly is coming out of the fact that BitGo is a U.S.-based company, correct? Is that kind of where this is all spawning from?
Sort of, but I do hope to ask my other two questions because that does relate to them. Whether or not, we had an outage with BitGo a week or two ago where Bitstamp users couldn't access their stuff, Bitfinex users couldn't access their stuff. This may not have been a serious outage in the sense of where people may have lost coin or such, but there was a lack of access. So it sounds like now we're dealing with this party that has the ability to affect people's value, even if it's not to steal it or lose it.
So one, I feel like saying they're having problems accessing, they couldn't access it. That's not factually correct. Because if we needed to, we could access it. We have 2 of the coins, and they'd been deposited to those addresses. If we needed to, we could access those funds without a problem.
Well, I'm
what
talking
it
about
was
because
that the API, the BitGo had a problem with it.
Yeah, there was an outage, right?
All right, yeah. Basically, yeah. There was a problem with BitGo's API, which caused when people were depositing funds, it wasn't showing up in the account because we weren't receiving this information from BitGo. And so, yeah, that did cause problems.
So is BitGo insured for any of this causing loss at some point?
BitGo does have a standard insurance that they offer. I think it's not offered to every customer, or not to every individual customer on our part. It's offered to us as a whole, and I don't think it's anywhere near what we're storing is. But even with the issue that they had, it was an API issue on reporting. There wasn't actually any issue on anything where funds could have been lost. All it was is that we weren't receiving the information from BitGo to credit the account.
Right. Yeah, I didn't think there was a chance for loss so much as that because you were all relying on one centralized entity, you all got affected in a predictable manner. And whether or not this opens up people to exposure for other problems in the future. Like, we'll see DDoSes on Poloniex when supposedly, as a conspiracy theory, the magical market makers and manipulators want the price to do a certain thing. And so now if we start seeing BitGo outages or BitGo's API going down in inconvenient times, you can see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, I can. But I think so far we've been more than pleased with the service that BitGo's offered. They've done a really good job, and in total, I think the 6 hours of API problems is nothing to the added benefits of what using them has been. But yeah, I do understand your point of now you have an additional point of failure for a large amount of funds on USD exchanges, which I think it's probably a valid concern.
Yeah.
But I think BitGo, they've done an excellent job so far, and I expect that to
continue
down that path.
Is when their API, sorry, Mike's in the wrong place. When their API goes down, do you have? I mean, I know you guys have a backup key, so you can do the signing yourself if BitGo can't.
We have 2 of the 3 keys.
Sure. So my
if
question
BitGo goes
is
down,
your system set up so that if BitGo goes down, you can continue signing anyway? Because if you were down for 6 hours,
yes, but that is definitely not an ideal situation. But if we need to, yes, we can access the funds and sign our own transactions and get them out. But ideally, we won't have to do that. And so far, we haven't had.
Do you have a switch?
We really haven't had any issues with that.
I think his answer is no.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Do you have a switch that if BitGo's down for like 6 hours, you can go, well, people need their money, we'll do the signing ourselves for this period?
Basically, hot swap the API with your own solution.
Yep.
I don't believe so, no.
Then I think that's something you need to put on your to-do list, because that seems like a pretty... I mean, there are 30... BitGo's a great idea.
It seems like something BitGo may want to develop and provide as here, you're going to want to install this too, Yeah,
exactly. I mean, BitGo's a great idea in theory, but you're talking 30 exchanges relying on one system is not ideal. Especially if you don't have a failover that you can go, well, okay, BitGo's down for a few hours, let's do a signing until they get back up,
And then I would use this segue
to be honest, I don't know what. Okay, first I'm just gonna say I don't know what it would take to go from BIT goes down, we need to sign the transactions, to actually getting it done. I don't know how long that would take. I don't know what the setup, how much work would have to go into that for us, or where we stand on it right now. So I can't really give you guys a great answer on that. Sorry.
Well, hopefully now you see the concern and maybe it needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
I sounded like Vix wanted to cut you off. I don't know if you have to go, but I did have a couple more questions. They're not that important though.
Well, let's go ahead and we're coming up on the 1 hour mark, and I like to keep the Hangouts to about an hour. We've covered a lot of stuff here, and many of these things are extremely important, and I do understand your concern with BitGo and some of the, I guess, attack vectors that you're pointing out that we could go into at a later time. So I just want to wrap it up here, and I want to say thanks to the panel, Bitcoin Aerolog, BTC Drac, and Theo, and special thanks to Zane from VFX for coming and discussing all these things, especially the recent Ethereum ad. So signing off.